I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. F*** it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Welcome in. It's the Daily Puck Drop on Thursday, December 26th, the day after Christmas. Welcome in, everybody. Hopefully everyone had a wonderful Christmas, celebrating with family and friends, and, of course, watching football. And thank you for checking in the day after Christmas for the Daily Puck Drop. I was real curious how many people will be watching and listening today to the live show and to the podcast later today. But we're here for you. It's Seahawks game day, so we'll spend plenty of time Seahawks and Bears. We're going to get into the WSU President problem. Mike Garafolo will join us in about 18 minutes from now. Michael-Shawn Dugar coming up around 10:50 or so. And then, of course, the Hey What the Puck as we end every show coming up at 11:30. Of course, we are broadcasting from the very famous Limback Lumber Studios. Contractors, they got free deliveries, everything from whole house packages to homeowner DIY projects, largest stock moldings in the Northwest. Old school service, they've been doing it since 1930. Give Limback Lumber a call, 206-782-3487. Visit them online at limbacklumber.com as well. We talked about this a little bit last week. If you can, please go visit the Ballard Food Bank, ballardfoodbank.org, and you can make a donation to the Ballard Food Bank, a cause that is near and dear to the heart there of the fine folks over there at Limback Lumber. Maybe volunteer as well. Donate food, but donate your time and money. Go visit ballardfoodbank.org. And big thanks to Limback Lumber. Big thanks to Matt and the whole crew out there, and Mark and Paul and everyone that has been supporting Puck Sports here for the past several months and continued support into 2025, which is coming up, next week as we go into a brand new year. And they helped me out building something for my wife. Well, actually, my son came up with this idea that we build her something for Christmas, a cutting board. I wish I had tomorrow's show. I'll show you how it turned out. I can't make anything. I'm going to tell you right now. I'm an idiot. But I think it's actually turned out pretty well. It was a cutting board shaped as the state of Washington that we made. All credit goes to my son there for that idea. But the fine folks there at Limback Lumber certainly gave us a hand in making that. So hopefully everyone had a wonderful Christmas. Thank you for anyone that's tuning in today, whether you're watching it or listening to it live, YouTube, Twitter, on the iOS app, also on the Android app. If you want to listen to the show, so if you're watching this right now and you're like, well, how can I listen to it live? If I'm in my car or just not around, a screen, I guess, and I can't watch it, you can listen to the show. Just download the Puck Sports mobile app on your iOS device, Apple device, or if you have an Android, you can download it there on the Android store. And, of course, we're always up later on YouTube. Please like and subscribe when you're there. Also up on Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your favorite podcast platform, and everything up at pucksports.com. One thing we're crowdsourcing on the Pucks Posse patron side. Again, if you want to become a Pucks Posse member where you get all the content, VIP content, you can go to pucksports.com, sign up there. Just $5 a month. If you have any issue as we continue to add more and more content over there on the Pucks Posse site, on the membership site. If you ever have any problems, any issues, you're like, I just can't figure it out. $5 is just going to be a little too much for me. Send me an email. We'll work something out, puck@pucksports.com. But not only by signing up to be a Pucks Posse member do you get VIP content, you continue to support this venture, Puck Sports, as we go into 2025. So look at it as you're supporting the continuation of Puck Sports, but also you are going to get more VIP content when you sign up to become a member. Like right now, we try to do this every show, have a separate from our YouTube and live stream chat that we have going on. We also have a VIP chat that happens over on the Patreon site for members. And like today, asking score predictions. What do you think the game's going to turn out today? Also, we crowdsource ideas. because I like to know how people listen and consume the show. So I encourage you to sign up there and become a Pucks Posse community member if you can. And again, if you can't too much, send me an email, puck@pucksports.com. We can always work something out. All right, Seahawks must win. We'll have that discussion today. WSU President problem, Kirk Schulz. What a fantastic story reporting done by John Canzano. From johncanzano.com. And, of course, we missed John this week because of Christmas Eve. We will have John on next week because it's New Year's Eve and he's traveling. We got the Rose Bowl and all that. We'll work something out with John. I don't know if we'll tape something with him on Sunday or maybe do something on Monday's show along with when Jim's back there on Monday. Maybe we'll do something with him, and I'll discuss that with him because we have to discuss the story that he did on Kirk Schulz and just the absolute disaster of a behind-the-scenes look at just the dysfunction that is the president and the Board of Regents at WSU. And then I think it gives you, a window into the decision that Jake Dickert made for himself. And moving on. Now, whether you like that decision still or still upset about it, listen, I think we said this the day that he left. I think any emotion that you have and want to have in that regard is okay. I still not thrilled with the idea of leaving this so soon so close to a bowl game. And that decision, and you've got 57-ish players now that are getting ready for a game tomorrow. But I do think that the reporting from John does give you more of an insight of probably what led to that decision, by him, and what will lead to many coaches who decided to move on. We're going to get to that in just a quick second, I promise, because we're going to go a lot of football today with Garafolo coming up in about 10 minutes or so. And then Michael-Shawn Dugar coming up around 10:50. As we usually do with Mike, we tape Mike in the morning because Mike has things going on, and Mike is in Chicago. It was a late night of traveling for him as he got back from, of course, Christmas celebrations with his family, had to get on a flight, get into Chicago, got into Chicago late, so we recorded early this morning there with Mike. And, God, for all those people that have got to work on Christmas and Eve and Christmas and all that just sucks. We got to sit around on our asses and drink eggnog all day and watch football, and some of these people got to go out and work. I feel bad for them. That I know what they're doing, and I know what they're covering, and they're covering sports, but I feel a little bad for them that they have to go out and do all that. All right, Seahawks must win tonight. Obviously, it's a must win. They need to do it. They aren't quite eliminated yet if they lose. But obviously it's not going to be good for them because if the Rams win on Saturday against the Cardinals, against a depleted Cardinals team, and you lose, then you are out. If they win and the Rams still win, mathematically they still have a chance based on the tiebreakers. You go down to the tiebreaker, that strength of victory, and they still could have a chance if they can beat the Rams in the final week of the season. But they're going to need a lot of help from a lot of different teams. The easiest path, obviously, is for them to win the final two games and then have the Rams lose to Arizona. That's it. That's what they need because their only path is to get into the postseason. Their path is to win the division, which we thought all along that around 10-7 winning the division would be it for them. Now they face a Bears team tonight that's lost 9 straight games. They fired their coach. They look terrible, on and off the field. But when you look at that 9-game losing streak and just take out a few of these games, well, I think it's going to be more of a contested game tonight than we're all going to want, than any of us are going to want tonight. It's going to be, I think it's going to be one of those games, which is kind of standard for the Seahawks. They get into the fourth quarter, and we're just a little uneasy of how the game is going to go. Oh, wow, we didn't see how, Caleb Williams looks really good. How did he all of a sudden look great? Oh, Rome Odunze's having the game of his life. I just think it's the nature that they play, what we've all grown accustomed to of them playing this style, and I think it's going to be another one of those situations tonight. You're going to get in the fourth quarter, and you're just going to be grinding out hopefully a victory for Seattle. But in their 9-game losing streak, I mean, they do have a 3-point loss at Detroit, a 3-point loss in overtime to Minnesota, and a 1-point loss to Green Bay. So, again, they should win tonight. They are favored. They are a better football team than them. How much better are they? I don't know. They're not world beaters. It's safe to say that about the Seahawks. They're not like a world-beating football team. And I don't think they can walk into any game thinking they're just going to sleepwalk their way to a victory. I mean, they didn't do that against the Jets, right? They're down 14 points to the Jets. They had to come back and rally in that game. And the Jets are a bad football team. They lost to the Giants at home, and the Giants are terrible, are awful. So I don't think anybody should have this thought going into the game tonight, oh, this should be an easy win. I don't think there's anything easy about tonight's game at all. At all. And, the pressure that knowing that they've got to win the final two and then having to get some help for them on the way out, we'll see how they react tonight. We'll see what they can do. No Ken Walker, so it'll be the Charbonnet show. Kenny McIntosh. We'll see. They'll be the same storylines that we're going to talk about tomorrow. I'll just give you the headlines for tomorrow if they lose. Okay, no. Let's go. If they win. If they win tomorrow, the defense played well. They confused Caleb Williams. They got him to throw a couple of interceptions. Great game by Devin Witherspoon. Geno was efficient. They found a running game. They didn't commit a whole bunch to the running game, but they committed enough to get Charbonnet and Kenny McIntosh involved to where it kind of kept the Bears' defense, which is a good defense, by the way, a little off balance. Seattle was able to grind out a victory there in the fourth quarter, and they ended up winning 26-17. But they needed a late score to make it feel comfortable. Okay, that's if they win. Now, if they lose, what are the headlines going to be tomorrow? Why can't they run the ball? Why do they not run the ball? Why does Ryan Grubb elect to pass it all the time? And why are we putting everything on Geno Smith's shoulders and his right arm? And they don't run the ball because they can't block. Those are the headlines tomorrow. Well, we already know what it's going to be if they lose because it's the same headline every single week with them if they lose. Every single week, it's the same thing. Nothing ever changes. So I've already written them for everybody because we all know what that's going to be. We'll have more on that with Garafolo coming up in a bit. On the Daily Punch Up. Also, Michael-Shawn Dugar later on. We'll have to ask both of them. Well, I already asked Dugar, because we recorded it. But we'll ask Garafolo about the reports of Pete Carroll and the Chicago Bears. And then that whole storyline had its separate storyline of Adam Schefter and then Mike Florio yelling at each other on Twitter about reporting and all of that. But we'll ask Garafolo how much talk is there about Carroll getting back into the NFL, which he said he wants to get back into coaching. And would Chicago be the right spot for him? Would getting a young quarterback like Caleb Williams, would that be a good fit? He's got the defense there. They would still have to solve their offensive line issues, but he's got a defense that Pete Carroll can certainly work with. And despite his age, that man doesn't act his age. What is he, 73? He's not 73. For sure. All right, I want to get into this before we talk more Seahawks coming up here with Garafolo and Michael-Shawn Dugar. I don't know if people read it yet. It's Christmas. I think it came out on Christmas or maybe on Christmas Eve, I think is when Canzano dropped this story. His story and his piece on the relationship between the president of Washington State, Kirk Schulz, Jake Dickert, and the Board of Regents. I would encourage everyone to go read it. And if you're not a subscriber to John Canzano, I would become one today. John just does terrific reporting. We have him on once a week. I would have him on at damn near every day because he's just so good at what he does. But his latest piece, if you go there, Washington State problem comes into focus. Go read this entire article. Go subscribe today. Become a member there for John's website, johncanzano.com. It's a good, lengthy read about the relationship between the Board of Regents, Kirk Schulz, Jake Dickert, and I think it gives a lot of background and of why he left, of why Jake Dickert and these other coaches decided to leave and move on. And again, I don't know if everyone will buy it, and I don't think everyone will immediately excuse Jake Dickert for leaving, but I do think it's going to give people a little bit more of an understanding of why he decided to move elsewhere. The Kirk Schulz, the heart of the article is that there's been these two sides. One, that maybe the Board of Regents isn't all about athletics and football. Kirk Schulz has been painted as the pro sports president. Jake Dickert has talked a lot about, he did it with me, he's done it with almost most interviews that he's done, talking not only about the financial investment that WSU needs to make for the collective, but also the university. The upper campus needs to make an investment. He said that to me several times when he joined me. And what John points out in his reporting is that what we thought was not reality. That it appears that Kirk Schulz has been the one that has been hesitant to invest not only in the football program, hesitant to invest in just athletics. That on his way out, for people that don't know, next summer he's leaving. He's out. That he's wanted to leave. And that now he wants to focus more on the academia side of things. And as Canzano points out in his story, listen, it's the Board of Regents that supported, had a $2 million they were going to give to the athletic department, give to the football program. And then Kirk Schulz just dragged his feet on it and didn't tell his AD for like 6 weeks that he had all this money for her. And now almost upward towards $4 million that he didn't have. And the board of members also in the article had to force Kirk Schulz to end up joining that lawsuit against the 10 departing schools. So I don't know. We'll have more on this one today. I'll get back into a little bit more later in the show. Also, we'll get into tomorrow there with Jim. The biggest part about it was when they were 7-1, Kirk Schulz had went to Jake Dickert and asked for a pay cut. Again, they were going to reduce their payroll for their coaches and payouts from $4.9 to $3.5 million. Jake Dickert brought in Kirk Schulz for a meeting. He brought in all of his support staff, assistant coaches, and had Kirk Schulz look at all these people and said, if you make this pay cut, these are the lives that you are affecting. It is a great read. Go to johncanzano.com there for the very latest on that story. We'll pivot back to that later on the show, but right now joining us, ladies and gentlemen, he's celebrating post-Christmas with us. It's Mike Garafolo, the Mike Garafolo Show. And Mike is brought to you by Hartley and Hartley Insurance, your trusted family-owned insurance experts in the Puget Sound area since 1978. Honesty, fairness, integrity. Contact Jamie Hartley, 253-565-8700. And also Zogs on Fox Island. Perfect spot to grab a cold beer, hang out with friends, catch the game. Zogs on Facebook and Instagram, fall hours and event times. Merry Christmas to you. All went well with the family?
Yeah, there you are. I have to make sure I didn't lose you. Yeah. Good Christmas. We started up north with my in-laws, and we're now with my parents. We spent yesterday into today here, which actually worked out perfectly because I am going to go to Eagles. I got the Eagles game on Sunday. So I'll go to Eagles today and prepare for they're like 5 minutes from the facility, my parents. So it worked out perfectly.
It's tough for you guys. I was saying this to I have Michael-Shawn Dugar, who covers the Seahawks for The Athletic. I know you know Mike. We recorded him early this morning, and it's tough, man. You guys, I know you love what you do. It sucks to work on Christmas Eve and Christmas. And this week.
It does. I actually feel bad for. Hold on a second. I'm just having a couple of things here. I feel bad for like the people that are working at the stadiums. You know what I mean? Like those people, the players are fine. Even we were talking yesterday, like, Travis Kelce was there, and I stunned that Taylor Swift was nowhere to be found. And I'm like, if she wanted to, she could be there and take a private jet and be anywhere else for dinner, right? Like she could do that. And the players get about it, if they're lucky, a 10-year career, and for the rest of their lives they get to spend wonderful holidays with their families because they're making good money on the field and can set themselves up and do whatever. So I feel for the people working at the stadiums. My sister does some stuff with the Eagles and the Sixers, and so she's working a bunch of holidays, and I feel for her. It's like that's who I feel for. We'll the people like us will be okay because we can work remotely. That's the other thing. A lot of times you're covering the game, that's fine, but I could work remotely the last couple of days.
Kids, what was their best gift?
Carmen loved her. She asked for an Apple Watch, but she's 7, so we gave her a smart, non-connected one. Like she's got a calculator and games on it. She's not ready to be connected to the grid. So, and I was wondering if she was going to be upset. She wasn't. Matter of fact, she was upset this morning because she couldn't find it in the house, and so she was very upset. And it turns out I had it. So how about that? How about that for a Christmas plot twist? It was in my bag. I had a lot of whiskey yesterday, brother.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. As you should. It's Christmas. Yeah. Santa, that's how Santa celebrates, with bourbon.
Is he a bourbon guy, or is he more of a maybe bourbon?
Bourbon, whiskey's all of it. He's just once that day is over, he nesses up to Mrs. Claus and gets after it.
So I did a post on Instagram because I opened up the High West Midwinter Dram, Midwinter Night's Dram, which I get every year. And some years are better than others, and I got to retaste it because it felt a little flat. It tasted a little flat to me this year. But I posted a video with the theme from Shakespeare in Love, right? Because I thought that was clever. And I tagged High West, and they replied to me, and they were like with the heart emojis on the eyes, but they didn't repost it. They reposted like everybody else, and I was like, that was kind of messed up. I thought my video was clever and funny, you know? And it featured your product prominently.
Yeah, and how about you start shifting? How about we start shipping some stuff to us, huh? To you specifically.
I don't know if I can. Yeah, is that allowed? I have no idea. But
sure.
I just wanted to repost. I wanted them to be like, this was clever. It's a midwinter reference to Shakespeare. And here, this clever fellow with the Shakespeare as he's pouring the. So, anyway, it's a good score. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it yet, it's been out for 25 years.
Yeah. We've seen it. We've seen it all. All right, so a little too much. You overserved yourself a little bit. What about for Mike? What did Santa bring Mike Garafolo?
I didn't get anything. We don't. Mike, I shouldn't say that. My parents hooked me up. My dad likes to cut a check at the end of the year.
That's
if it's
good.
A good year, which is nice. We actually are taking them. So it was their 50th anniversary. And then I had the idea, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take them to Super Bowl week. They don't care about the game. But my mother would love to go to NFL Honors. So I'm working on – so I got them the flights. I got them a hotel room. They're coming Wednesday to Friday. So we'll go to – they love New Orleans. So we'll go to dinner together Wednesday. They'll come to Honors on Thursday. And then, as my mom said when she opened the gift and saw the itinerary, but I was planning to go up and watch your kids. I was like, no, you are. Check – you're coming back – you're coming back on Friday, and you're flying back to Newark, not to Philly. So
don't worry, we still got you down for babysitting. You're not off the hook.
Yes.
Oh, that's a hell of a gift. All right, how much should the Seahawks be worried? I mean, they're not good enough to look past anybody tonight. How worried should they be against the Bears this evening?
I wouldn't be. It's why did this not go through? It is. Bad in Chicago right now. Bad. Okay. And I'm a little worried. Who's worried? I'd be worried about Caleb if I were the Browns. This is going to be a monumental hire for them. I saw Dan Orlovsky suggest that Ben Johnson, not the best guy scheme-wise for Caleb Williams. They better get it right scheme-wise. They better get it right personality-wise. They tried to change some things up during the course of the season to make them more comfortable and more productive. Doesn't seem like it's done a whole lot. I'd be very surprised if all of a sudden I think this is a Bears team limping to the finish, and then it'll be a big storyline this offseason about how they're going to get Caleb right and how they're going to get this team right moving forward.
Would Pete Carroll be the right guy in Chicago? Boy, there's a lot of that. That was a great story that came out this week. Pete Carroll in Chicago. Can you close your eyes and see him leading the Bears?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Yes. Yes, I could. I do know that they're looking for that kind of, and I think it's a good idea I just talked about the personality with Caleb. I think it's a good idea. I think he needs positive reinforcement. We know Pete's all about the positivity. I think he's got the juice to still do what he needs to do. He is an incredibly healthy guy, incredibly energetic guy. I don't care about the age, the number doesn't bother me. I always felt that way about Tom Coughlin. I think that the Giants moved on from him a little too soon, and in part because of not age as in he's slowing down, but age as in, can he speak to this generation? I think Pete can. Now, the question is going to be, who's his offensive coordinator? And do they feel good about that? Do they feel good about the plan involving him? So wouldn't surprise me at all if he interviewed and if he was somewhere in the mix on this one at all. Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the remark from a few of, well, if you want Caleb Williams to thrive, you can't hire him. And I thought, well, you know what? I mean, last time he had a rookie quarterback, I mean, they did okay. I mean,
why not? What's the reasoning for X person saying that?
Because he just isn't, he went through so many offensive coordinators in Seattle. There was the rift between him and Wilson. Did he allow Wilson to truly fully develop into the quarterback that he potentially could be? I don't know. They won a Super Bowl and they were really good together. And
that was later. That was later. Yeah. And that was after Russ had, when Russ came in, I'm sure he always had visions of being, the off the field personality that he became, but he wasn't at that point. And I think that stuff really hit the fan later on in Russ's career. I don't rule any of this out based on what I know about Pete Carroll and what I know about Caleb Williams. Yeah. And but I did, and as I answered the question before, the question that I would have as the Bears and anybody, who's your offensive coordinator? What's your plan for the quarterback? So that is a part of it. I'm not dismissing it completely, but I don't think that he's a quarterback killer or someone who can't work with a guy with the personality of Caleb Williams. I don't think that at all.
Do you think there's legitimate interest from the Bears side, or as was pointed out on social media this week, that this is a story floated out by an agent trying to work up and generate interest in this client being Pete Carroll?
No, and Adam defended it by saying that the suggestion that he got it from the agent very well could have gotten it from. I mean, I sounds like Pete Carroll has been talking to people about a prospective coaching staff. Of course he wants to keep coaching. He wanted to keep coaching last year. Like, that's not surprising. So, you hear, hey, oh, yeah, you talk to the Bears. Hey, I heard Pete, oh, yeah, he reached out to us. All right, there you go. There's a story. That's fine. I'm good with it. But I think the Bears are set to conduct a wide-ranging search, and I think that there would be interest in them sitting down and talking to him, but I don't know that for sure yet.
Do you think there's interest besides the Bears? And I don't know how many openings there are going to be this year in the NFL. Would there be interest in other teams in Carroll?
I think there probably would, and they can right now. He's not under. I mean, he can be interviewed now. But if Jacksonville lets go of Doug Peterson, if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars and you get a chance to bring in a guy like Pete Carroll, why would you not explore that? I'm trying to think of some of the openings we've already got. Chicago's the other one. New Orleans. Sure, why not? I would. There's a lot of teams now. Look, if the Giants let go of Brian Daboll, I don't think that's a fit, right? The Jets is an opening. I don't like that one for Pete Carroll. But I think some of these other ones in some of these smaller markets, I think could absolutely work.
Yeah. Browns, do you think the Browns would make a move with Stefanski?
No shot. Zero chance. Zero chance.
All
yes. Right. The biggest move the Browns are going to make this offseason is what they're going to do with the quarterback position.
Well, how do they offload that?
You got to eat it sometimes. Oof. Or you draft a guy and he competes and it is what it is. They got to know that there's 2 years left on that contract, and that is not going to result in, at this pace, at this point, if he's under contract for 25 and 26, do you see him in any realm right now being under contract in 27?
Yeah, no. I mean, no way.
And you can't wait till then, right?
Yeah.
And if it's look at the Broncos last year. That was a little different with the Broncos because if they kept Russ for one more year, it would have triggered another year. So at least they cut their loss in half. But it was still a big loss. That's
Mhm.
still a big bite that they had to swallow there. So, Browns may have to do the same.
What are the Falcons going to have to eat on Cousins?
What is it? 26 million next
Okay.
year, and then there's another 10 that triggers. So, yeah, I mean, I don't see a world in which they're going to be able to trade him. He's got a no trade clause anyway. Um, I just don't, and everybody knows he's likely gone. So I don't see why anybody would fall for the charade of, well, you got to trade for him. We may hold
Right.
on, So I think in the end, he just winds up being a free agent.
Okay, so he gets cut. They've got to eat some of that money, but then he's free.
Yeah.
He's free to then sign.
He's then free to sign. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Where would he land? I mean, he still is a good quarterback. I mean, they just decided to make
Is
the move.
he?
I mean, he's had it. I mean, I don't know if that system. I do wonder if that system was the right one for him.
In their minds, when you talk to people down in Atlanta, in their minds, he's not the same quarterback.
Okay.
It's not in their minds like, hey, this was a bad fit. Schematically, now I do think schematically that a lot of that pistol stuff did not make sense for him.
Right.
But now, are you going to, at this point in his career, knowing what they believe, having evaluated him, going to bring it in and tailor it to him? I mean, maybe you've got an offensive coordinator where schematically it makes more sense and he can come in and be the bridge guy. If the Giants draft a guy and they feel like, I mean, that's a bad example. If the Giants draft a guy, it's going to be Shador or Cam Ward.
What about the Niners? What about that? Feels like the low hanging fruit team out there would be the Niners.
Yeah, something like that makes sense. Yep.
Okay. You think they
But
would do that?
Backup, not
but they're not. Are they bridging the gap or are they replacing Purdy?
No. Purdy's the guy. Purdy's the guy in San Francisco. Yeah.
All right.
So it would be a bringing him in as a solid backup option.
So do you think his future is as a backup, not a starter?
Backup / bridge quarterback, no question.
Okay.
I don't see any team being like, hey, here's Kirk Cousins. We can lock ourselves into that. Now, Mike Tomlin, and this is now not looking like the greatest call ever, but Mike Tomlin wanted Russell Wilson because he knew he can get him on the veteran minimum. And then when he started him, we were like, oh, look how smart Mike Tomlin looks. And now, I mean, that throw on the interception in the end zone, which killed that game and killed a lot of people, a lot of friends of mine who were very upset with that play. And we're on me about it for some reason. I didn't say anything. This guy stinks. I'm like, yeah, the assistant coaches of the year might be the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive staff for making Russell Wilson look better than he's looked the last couple of weeks, because that decision was horrendous. And if you look at it from the wide angle, he had Cam Hayward sort of in the deeper flat, and then Jaylen Warren releasing. It was 2nd and 14. The touchdown had just come off the board. I know he's trying to get it right back. You've got to see that safety on the other side. Regardless of what George Pickens did, you've got to see that safety there. Check it down to Jaylen Warren. He had about 13 yards between him and the closest defender. He is a strong back. He is a agile back. He may make that guy miss. It may be a first down or a touchdown. If not, it's third and manageable. He's gone off script a couple of times there, and that's been a problem.
Has it coincided with him with them winning, and then maybe him feeling good about himself, and now he's like, I got that old Russell magic back. Probably,
and maybe playing these teams that they're playing right now.
Well, those are good teams they've lost to. Not like they lost to.
How many losing teams you play in the playoffs? 0. These are the teams you're going to have to beat in the postseason. I have no sympathy right now. Okay. Like, you played well enough to put yourself in a position to win the division, and you fold it. Okay, fine. You played tough teams, but don't go 0-3 against them. Give me a 2-1, 1-2. You know.
So are they? What has transpired then is what you're getting at. Is they have. Maybe they were one way of what they would do with him in the offseason, but now it's not so clear what they would do with him in the offseason, whether they would bring him back.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was even when he was when he was playing well, it was easier. And now you're gonna have to pay him legitimate money. I don't know that anybody else would be jumping to pay him. I think we talked about it, and I compared it to Geno a couple of years ago when the Seahawks gave him that $25 million deal, which was like fair money, but nobody was really bidding against them. I think at the time, maybe it was Tampa Bay we thought was going to have some interest and really didn't. So it might be something like that if he can turn this around, and maybe they could still win a playoff game, right? Like, they could still go in, play really good defense, win 19-17 or some goofy Steelers score. I just, at this point, I don't see how they go deep enough, let's say, to the AFC Championship game. That would surprise me.
Yeah. Hey, I'll go back to one of the big topics out here, and I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if they address it tonight on Thursday Night Football, because now it's the standalone game and all that.
Yeah.
But every week it is Ryan Grubb, Mike Macdonald. It's every week out here in Seattle. Is this debate about these two guys? Do they don't run the ball enough? Is there a disconnect?
I agree with that.
Okay. Is there's a disconnect between these two? Is there a rift at all? And there's been some people that have thought and speculated and talk about out here is, will Mike Macdonald pull the plug on Ryan Grubb after just one season? Has this been, now this is a local, and we get in this little vacuum that we get in out here, like every city does. Is this a national thing at all? Is this starting to permeate throughout the league of whether or not Ryan Grubb is one and done?
It's sort of, but when I say that, I'm talking about on text threads with me, a couple agents, some NFL guys, reporters. We've got a couple of those text threads where it's just, man, what is going on? Like the game the other day, and there was a series early on where it was like they were running the ball well, 6 yards a carry or something, and it was Geno pass, punt, that 3 and out, I guess maybe second quarter, I want to say, and that was a killer. Like when that series happened, you're like, what are you doing, man? I mean, I hate to be old man in my rocking chair, run the ball guy, but there's times where it's screaming for it to happen. It didn't happen. And, when you try to build your team, I understand the offensive line. You've got your questions about that as well, but you were running the ball effectively early on, and you bailed, and Geno's not the guy. I don't want to put Geno in that situation. I don't want to, the high volume games that he throws the ball a ton feel like the Lions game early in the season where they were just throwing to come back into that game. I don't want him doing that. So I think it's starting to permeate a little bit, and you're right. I think tonight being a standalone game could be one where, Herb Street says something, he'll have some thoughts, and now all of a sudden people have a view of it. Or he comes out and calls a great game and saves himself and puts himself back on track to be the guy in 25. We'll see.
Does someone this is such a young and new staff, right? I mean, you've got a first-year coach, never done it before, a coordinator, both coordinators, first-year jobs. I mean, there's so many new people and a lot of guys coming from college. Do you give someone like a Ryan Grubb a pass in year one? Or do you say, hey, if it's not working, then just rip the Band-Aid off now and move on and find somebody else that fits the system?
Me personally, if it's not working, it's not working. And it's not like Mike Macdonald and Ryan Grubb have a history together where he's like, no, this is my guy. I'm going to stand by my guy. I think he's got to assess it, and he's going to have to assess a lot of things after his first year being a head coach. That's what you do. And that might be something where he has to make a hard decision and a quick decision. We'll see.
Does he get, I'm curious about this one, because the relationship with Carroll and Schneider was so unique. Carroll was the president of football operations, and then Schneider was the GM, but they would talk about how closely they worked together and they were in unison in all these decisions. Does Macdonald have full autonomy on his coaching staff? Because it appears that Schneider was in love with Grubb and wanted to hire Grubb. Then made that hire. Hey, let's meet you guys. Let's bring you guys together. This Mike, I think you should really hire this guy. Does he have full autonomy, or would Schneider have the right to veto him and say, no, you're not going to fire him?
I don't know how it's written in the contracts, but I know it's a collaborative decision last year, and it was, was supposed to be all the way through. And they have a good working relationship, from my understanding, Mike Macdonald and John Schneider. I know Schneider's thrilled with the hire and has been this entire season. So it's kind of like the Pete had final say on personnel, but that never really came up much because they were always sort of in lockstep, and John was able to convince him on certain things. So I think it's sort of like that, and I think it's going to be like that moving forward. And when they make the decision after the year, it'll be a collaborative decision. And I at this point, like if you had to make the decision now and McDonald said, hey, I got to move on, like he just doesn't have a feel for the game, or, I don't like the way things are being called. How does John stand in his way? I don't know that he would.
Yeah, because it's his team, right? Like his job is to put the players on the field and give the pieces to Mike, but it's Mike's responsibility to coach. And yeah, I'm with you. I think if Mike was like, hey, I just can't work with him. It's just not. I mean, personally, I like the guy, but our systems and philosophies aren't working together, and we need to move on. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that was something that Pete always felt was how the offense and the way that it's called meshes with what they want to do defensively. right? And that's why you always wanted to run the football. I mean, let's control the ball, let's control the clock, and then we could dominate on defense and turn it over and then play with a lead and run the football. Like that's all part of what his philosophy was. And so Macdonald surely feels what he needs offensively. And that's something that they're going to have to evaluate after the season. So if it winds up being a one and done, I wouldn't shock me. I mean, but again, we still got 2 weeks to play this out. We'll see postseason what could happen. It's when I said if the season ended today, it doesn't. So let's see what happens here.
Did we like football on Christmas? Did we like football on Netflix?
Yeah, I thought Netflix did a great job. You know, they were in our studios at NFL Network, kicked Good Morning Football out for 2 days so that they could rehearse and do their shows, which was fine because then they got to be home with their families. But no, I thought they did a nice job. I said to somebody at some point, hey, does anybody know if Netflix has Monday Night Raw now? I wasn't sure there were enough promos and wrestlers inside the coverage for that, but that's fine. I mean, that's what you pay for.
Sure.
And then the cake, my kids love the show. Is It Cake?
Yeah.
So when they saw the football, and there were a couple times in the pregame, Bert Kreischer's got his shirt off, and I'm looking for, give me more football analysis and information. But I understand that on a day like Christmas, and I remember Collinsworth saying this years ago when they had the Thanksgiving night game and they had the butt fumble. He said that Vince Wilfork forklifted Brandon Moore, who was the guard. He just forklifts him. And Moore didn't even get pushed back at all, right? And Moore was pissed. And I remember being a controversy for the next week. And Collinsworth was like, well, they tell you on these Thanksgiving games, it's more, grandmas and aunts and uncles that don't necessarily watch football are watching the game. So you try to be more positive than you are critical. And I stepped, and he did apologize for it.
Yeah.
So I think that's when I saw the NFL, I'm like, well, this is not what I want to see, but it's not necessarily for me on Christmas Day. It's for the casual to less than casual fan.
Do we know what was coming out of RG3's pants, though?
I don't know what you're talking about. I missed that
when
one.
we went up on the
I'm not
stage,
sure that I want to know.
When he went up on the stage, he had it looked like, I don't even know what was coming out of the bottom of his pants. It looked like socks or something. It was the oddest looking thing. You don't know what I'm talking about, so it's fine. He went up.
I'll get it for you next week. How about that?
It's just very weird, but whatever.
I love RG3. I think he's great. I think he does a really nice job. I was sad when ESPN let him go.
Yeah.
He was the guy late in his career. He's with the Ravens, and I had to cover the Ravens, and Lamar gave you nothing, right? And a lot of those people in Baltimore gave you nothing. So I would go to RG3's locker every week and be like, hey, I'm sorry. But it was a good visit. I enjoyed our conversations. It was always insightful. He gave me great stuff to use on Sunday. When he transitioned into the media, I thought he continued that with he likes to have fun. And it to me, I also feel like going back to early in his career with Dan Snyder, Mike Shanahan, he never had fun, right? So I think he's trying to do it now, and hopefully this leads to more opportunities for him.
He's not afraid to be unique. I think that's what's good. That's what's good.
And a lot of people that transition from playing into the media now are afraid. And I think that's watering it down a little bit.
For sure. The Chiefs, they do it again. They're going to clinch home field advantage. I love Andy Reid with the Santa outfit in the locker room.
Nice touch, yeah.
It's just so good. They're just putting it all together all at once and kind of look like now the team to beat again.
Playing well defensively. That's my guy Spags. Let's see if he gets a shot at a head coaching gig. And it's a different look. It's a different feel. I think everybody's used to them dominating in a lot of ways offensively. The days of Tyreek Hill. I mean, that's not this team. Travis Kelce's not the same Travis Kelce anymore, obviously. At the age of 34 now, is he? And so it's going to look a little bit different. I'm actually surprised they haven't leaned more on the running game, especially with Isaiah Pacheco back. Now, maybe that's coming. Maybe that's the little okey doke, and they realize going into the postseason, they're going to think we're this style of play. We're going to give them a little something different. We saw that a couple of years ago, and I think it was during the COVID year. They went into Buffalo and ran for 200 and something yards. I still feel like they have that game in them where they're going to have to play that style of ball and maybe surprise some folks by doing it. So, yeah, they're while it may not look like it did before, they're certainly tough.
If you had do you get a vote? Do you vote on the NFL MVP?
I do not. No, NFL employees are not allowed to vote. So once I went to I used to have a vote, but I don't anymore.
Okay,
I can tell you.
Which way would you lean, Lamar or Josh Allen? That's
a tough one. After yesterday, I'd probably go Lamar, but before yesterday it was probably Josh Allen. So maybe after this weekend I'll be back on Josh Allen. That game last week was just a killer. Like you got to dominate. You're down 14. I said he's down 14-0 early. He's going to put up huge numbers, and he didn't. Usually throwing from behind and running all over the place, and he didn't. I thought that one hurt him. So let's see. He's got to come back with a big one this week.
If they give it to Allen, do you feel it's like the Lifetime Achievement Award?
No, I feel it's we can't give it to Lamar again.
Yeah.
There's got to be more than one valuable player. That would probably be what my thought would be, but yeah, I don't think he's not old enough to have a Lifetime Achievement Award yet. I mean, if he was in his 30s and he never won one, you go, okay, that's kind of sort of, let's give him one here. I don't think he's there yet.
Do you think if people don't vote for Lamar, is it based on because of what he does in the postseason? We're going to give it to him, and he wins all these MVPs. He gets in the playoffs, and he's a completely different player. Do you think that would be some thinking of some voters?
Maybe, but not the majority. I don't think so.
He's unbelievable. I mean, he just does it again. This would be his third.
Yeah,
he wins it, right? Yeah.
This would be his third. Yeah.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
Because he won last year and he won back in 2019. I want to say.
Yeah. All right, we'll talk to you next week. So have a happy New Year. Thanks for doing it.
Yep.
Say hi to the family. Best to the kids. Nurse off. Always chase that hangover with a little bit more. It's always a good idea.
I got to go I got Eagles. I'm working today. So
all right.
Not on the air. We're back. Insiders is back tomorrow night on the NFL Network. We're off today, which is part of the reason why yesterday I was like, let's go. Because I'm good. Got till 4 p.m. to get to the Eagles locker room.
You're the best. Thanks, Mike. We'll talk to you next week.
See you, Buck.
There he is. Mike Garafolo from the NFL Network again joins us every single week. Brought to you by Hartley & Hartley Insurance, your trusted family-owned insurance experts in the Puget Sound area since 1978. Honesty, fairness, integrity. Contact Jamie Hartley at 253-565-8700. Also, Zogs on Fox Island. You can go to Zogs on their website. You can go to Facebook, and you can find their store hours. They're also there on Instagram there as well. I hope everybody enjoys Mike Garafolo every single week. I love it, and I appreciate him doing it the day after Christmas there with his family as he's sitting there getting ready to do more family things, and then, of course, get ready to go cover the Eagles later today. Yeah, Seahawks in a must-win. We covered that. Obviously, the situation with Pete Carroll and the Chicago Bears. We're real interested to see how much of a candidate Pete Carroll will be for the Bears. And I agree with him, and you're going to hear this coming up from Michael-Shawn Dugar in just a quick second because we record Dugar early mornings there on Thursday, despite the age, who cares about the age for this guy? The age is nothing for him because he doesn't act like a 73-year-old at all. Does Pete Carroll. So I don't think that should factor in. I think the Bears should give him a good look. This idea that you'd somehow ruin Caleb Williams, I don't buy it, but it does. He's got to get the coordinator right. He's got to make sure he hires and has the right offensive coordinator to go along with Caleb Williams and, allow him to be Caleb Williams. But Caleb Williams could use someone like Pete Carroll. The chapter and the book is not closed on Pete Carroll there in his coaching career. All right. We got a visit here with Michael-Shawn Dugar, who joins us every single week. We'll talk more about the Seahawks, their matchup tonight against the Chicago Bears. Mike does offer an opinion or two here on Pete Carroll going to Chicago. We go into a lot of discussion today about Geno Smith's relationship with Mike Macdonald and how that relationship between those two is a similar relationship that Geno Smith had with Pete Carroll. And what's interesting is how this relationship develops, what it means moving forward for Geno Smith in a Seahawks uniform after this season. And does John Schneider share kind of the same feelings about Geno Smith as Mike Macdonald does? Real good insight from Michael-Shawn Dugar on that relationship between Macdonald and Smith, and something that he wrote about that's up at The Athletic that you can go read right now, theathletic.com. Michael-Shawn Dugar with us. Follow him on social media channels. Mike Dugar, of course, Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast along with Chris Kidd. Check it out on all the podcast platforms. Our conversation with Michael-Shawn Dugar from The Athletic. That time, it's the Dugar Report with Michael-Shawn Dugar from The Athletic. Of course, you can follow Mike on all the social media channels at Mike Dugar. Of course, you can catch his podcast with our guy, Chris Kidd. We still say our guy, Chris Kidd, on the Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast. Mike's in Chicago getting ready for the Bears and Seahawks, which is coming up later tonight. You and I were just chatting right before we started. I feel bad for you guys and anybody that's in this industry that you got to be working like this week and like working on Christmas Eve. I mean, I know it's got part of the business now, but God, it just stinks.
Yeah, unfortunately though, well, at least I am. I'm very used to it. I used to have to, be designing pages at a local newspaper in northern Idaho on Christmas, and Thanksgiving, and trying to get the paper sent in to the press before New Year's or before the ball dropped on New Year's was always a challenge when I had to do that. So by comparison, grabbing some Delta points and some Marriott points on Christmas is not the end of the world when I try to put it in perspective.
That's good. Did we have a good Christmas with the family though? We were able to get that in?
Oh yeah. I hung out with my daughter, my wife, my parents came over. We watched some uneventful football games. We watched Beyonce. I caught a little bit of the Laker game before my flight. So yeah, just some family time before getting out here to Chicago, which took a while too. I didn't get here till like midnight.
Okay, I'm going to tell you right now. I don't know who's performing at halftime of the Super Bowl, but there's just no way you're going to top what Beyonce did.
Well, it's Kendrick Lamar, which he could. If there's someone who could, yeah, that's.
But that was a hell of a show. I've never seen anything like that. I think it was the longest halftime show I've ever watched.
Yeah, for a regular season game, that was special. They actually got paid too, which makes that difference from the Super Bowl. That'd be interesting to see how artists treat that going forward, because you don't get paid for the Super Bowl. Their idea is like, oh, it's promotion, world's biggest stage, yada yada. Netflix is like, well, here's a fraction of the stage and a bag. So Mike would take the latter if presented the two options.
Yeah. All right. We got a Seahawks game tonight against the Bears. Thursday night football. Obviously, it's a must win situation here for Seattle, right, Mike? They've got no room for error right now moving forward, right? No room for error for them, and then they obviously need help from the Cardinals coming up on Saturday against the Rams.
Yeah, it's the worst place to be in, and they're here for the third year in a row. And for the guys who have been here in the third year in a row, it's very frustrating. So, in 2022, they needed the Packers to win in Week 18, and last year they needed, I think, something to happen in the Bears-Packers game again. They needed the Lions to win in 2022. They needed something with Bears-Packers last year, I believe. And then this year now their fate is in the hands of the Arizona Cardinals, who aren't very good. I was just watching some film of them before we hopped on. They're bad. They put both their tackles on IR. They may or may not have James Conner, and that's what you get when you don't win enough. Every time the Seahawks have been in this position, they can just look back to a game or two and be like, damn, if we didn't drop that, we'd be okay. Last year there was a few, late game whiffs, Cowboys, Rams down in LA. In 2022, they lost to the entire NFC South, which was an awful division that year. Panthers, Bucks in Germany, Saints were awful. Everyone was awful in that division. So here they are again, looking back and saying, damn, how did we lose to the Giants? If they just had that one more win, right there, they wouldn't be in this position. And it's unfortunate, like you said, no margin for error, and now you need help from a team that's already been eliminated.
Yeah, and that's we'll have plenty of time, I think, once the season over is to look back. But that you're right. I mean, it's that Giants game you look back to where you just go, man, because you can understand the Vikings loss, you can understand the Packers, Bills earlier in the season, but you can't understand the Giants game. I don't think anybody can wrap their head around them kicking the Giants game. Now, now I feel like one of these guys in the transfer portal. With that being said, you can't overlook the Bears. I mean, I know they've lost 9 in a row, but in that 9-game losing streak, they've got games in there where they went to overtime against Minnesota and lost by 3. I think they lost by 3 to Detroit, lost by 1 to Green Bay. I know there's other games in there where they've been blown out, I think, by Detroit. But, I mean, there are games in there where they've been competitive against those teams, which are very good, a Packers team that destroyed you at home. So it's not like I don't think they can just simply overlook the Bears and go, oh, we'll walk into Chicago, win this game easily, we'll be okay.
Oh, absolutely not. I think the Giants game should be they should never have any like trap games ever after the Giants. I don't think the Giants puck have won since then. I don't believe they have. And I remember, I think my editor was telling me, and we talked about it on here, I believe, that they didn't even have a lead again until Thanksgiving against the Cowboys. I believe that was the case. So you definitely can't overlook them. If they were even thinking about maybe some trappy-ish type game, nearly losing to the Jets should have killed that because that was another bad team on the road, but you couldn't hold on to the ball, the Seahawks, that is, and almost lost that one. Needed another fourth quarter game winning drive from Geno. So if all that wasn't enough lessons, boy, the Bears better be because, yeah, they just have talent. That's the thing. They're not super well coached, which is why they keep firing people, but they do have talent. You look at it, and every once in a while, Caleb makes a throw to, Rome or Keenan, or they find a way to get the ball to DJ Moore or one of their guys on their front, which is really good, makes a sack or a TFL. You're like, oh, wait, like they do have a few game wreckers here and there. They just can't put it together. I mean, for a minute there, they were just the anti-Chiefs. The Chiefs basically win by the skin of their teeth every week. I think Mahomes has 7 game-winning drives, and the Bears went like a month straight just finding a new way to lose a close game. That's the difference between, Andy Reid, putting together 15 wins or something like that, and the Bears, being where they are, having to look for a new coach here in a few weeks.
Yeah. What you wrote about it this week at the Athletic. I'd go check it out. Mike's work at theathletic.com. Follow Mike on all social media platforms, Mike Dugar. I'd go check it out. You wrote about the relationship or the trust between Geno Smith and Mike Macdonald. What did you, just writing that, what do you think you've learned over the season, the relationship between the two? And you talked about it, or you wrote about it, how impactful that relationship will be in the offseason when they decide to make some type of decision on the quarterback.
It's very clear that Mike Macdonald, much like his predecessor, believes that Geno Smith is a good quarterback. And the reason that their team is falling short in the big picture is not just because Geno isn't good enough. It's a very contrarian opinion relative to, like, I would say public perception, particularly with the fan base. Mike Macdonald sees some of these interceptions and is like, well, our guy ran the wrong route, or our protection sucked, or that was a bad play call against the scheme they had. Obviously he doesn't think Geno was perfect, but he just views Geno very similar to the way Pete Carroll did. And Pete would say this a lot over the last 2 years. If we play better around Geno, we'll be fine. That's we meaning the coaching staff. That's we meaning his O-line. That's we meaning his receivers. I mean, look at it this year. This is a context for which Mike Macdonald views Geno. 2 of the interceptions that Geno has thrown are at DK Metcalf. On both of them, DK stopped running the route that Geno thought he was going to run. It's sometimes just that simple. And Mike Macdonald knows that. So while the fan base will, or anyone doesn't have to be a fan, will say, man, that Geno guy, he ain't it. Keep turning the ball over. Mike sees, well, if the guy ran the right route, he wouldn't have those interceptions. Maybe we have some more wins. And it's not just that simple, but because Mike views it that way, I do think it sets up for an interesting offseason because it's very similar to Pete. Pete loved Geno. He loved him. He was like, if it was up to him, they would have just traded Russ and just started Geno. And it wouldn't even need to be a QB competition. But John brought in Drew. Pete got on board with Drew, and they let him duke it out, And as soon as Mike got here, he looked at Geno and said, wow, okay, this guy can spin. And then Ryan Grubb thought the same thing, and they're seeing it every week. They're seeing the work ethic, they're seeing the accuracy, and they're seeing him not be Superman. I think that's how Mike views Geno. It's like, okay, we're asking a lot of him, maybe more than we should, and the results reflect that. And I don't know if John Snyder will view it the same way. He might just say, hey, man, guy keep throwing picks. We're 9-8 again. Maybe we go get, another a younger Geno. Let's go figure that out. I don't know how much say Mike would have in that. Maybe John views it the same way as Mike. I'm not sure. We don't get to hear from him. But I do think it's very interesting that after all these changes and everything, Mike Macdonald 12 months later sounds exactly like Pete. And it's setting up a very similar conversation that Pete and John probably would have had to have if Pete had stayed. And now Mike and John are going to have it. What do we do about our quarterback? Is it his fault, or is it our fault for not putting a better product around him to help him succeed?
What do they get? What do you expect? I mean, do you think so much has been made with the running game? We've talked about it so much, Mike, on almost every appearance. We bring up the running game. Last week, I mean, there was just a massive discrepancy again in terms of how many times they dropped back to how many times they actually ran the ball. Now, I don't know what they're going to do this week because Walker, or what they're going to do tonight because Walker's out, so it's going to be Charbonnet and then Kenny McIntosh. How much do you think the responsibility of them wanting to run the ball more? Because you see Macdonald will say something after the game and then during the week about wanting to run the ball more. We've got to get that running game going. At the same time, he'll say that he and Grubb are aligned with the game plan going in. At what point does the head coach need to be like, hey, I know he's calling the plays, but I am the head coach. If I wanted to run the ball more, I can get in his headset and tell him to run the ball more. We talked a lot about that. I mean, that was always a theme, I thought, with Pete Carroll. Like, if you want to run the ball more, you are the main decision maker. Just get it done.
Yeah, and I think sometimes the benefit of like hindsight helps a lot with Mike Macdonald's discussions during the week, where it's like, okay, I watched the film. Yeah, we need to run it a little bit more. Then the Bullets get to flying on Sunday. He's got so much stuff going on, and look up, and it's like, oh damn, Ken's only got 5 carries, and you kind of see that when it comes to a season in totality as well. Like week to week, coaches are just so busy. Mike went straight from the loss to the Vikings to watching Bears film, just like an hour later. Like you get caught in the chaos of it. It's not sometimes until you sit back and look at the whole season, look at all your games, look at everything after taking a deep breath, going to Cabo or whatever, and you come back and say, we need to trade this guy. We need to cut this guy. Our line sucks. Our defense sucks. Our corners, or our line is greater than I thought, whatever. And I think that's what's happening with Mike. Like in real time, he probably feels like, okay, we're fine generally. And then he goes and watches the film and sees some options like, damn, why did we only run the ball twice, in the third quarter? Like that was the case against the Vikings. We were getting some good opportunities. And I really think that this week was probably the worst excuse I heard from Mike, or explanation, however you want to frame it. He said, yeah, the Vikings were showing them some looks where they had basically run pass options based out of how they were looking, and they just damn near deferred to the pass every time. And from what I've learned from watching a lot of these other teams that really commit to the run, particularly Green Bay and Detroit, is if you want to run it, you will. It's not that hard, There's only 2 play calls you can call. You either run it or you throw it. And the Seahawks choose to throw it a lot. And it's something they're good at, but it's coming at the expense of having a consistent run game. And the fact that it's taken 16, 17 weeks and we're still talking about it just shows that it's just not going to be their MO down the stretch. And that might be the reason that they end up in Cabo here in a couple weeks.
Yeah. Do we know, Mike, though, like, he obviously is a veteran quarterback. He can go to the line of scrimmage and change the play anytime he wants. Like, I guess what I'm asking is how much does he get up there? They've called a run play, but Geno's checked to a pass play.
It's hard to put a number on how often that's happening.
Yeah. Only they would really know, right? I mean,
right. Yeah, and if you're Geno, you're still a veteran, but you're still you're still your first year with Ryan Grubb, so you don't have full autonomy. You have autonomy, but you're still within the confines of the scheme. You're still a player, not a coach, so you can't just change every pass into a run. And in general, quarterbacks like Geno, I mean, they're ballsy, right? They think they can fit any ball in any window. I mean, look at the final drive of the first half on Sunday against the Vikings. I mean, Geno was those are arrogant throws. Just like tight windows, the ball over the middle to Jackson. Only a few guys are making that throw to Jackson at 25-yarder to set up the touchdown. Back shoulder, triple coverage, damn near. And so if you tell that guy, hey man, it's up to you whether we run or pass it, what do you think he's going to do? That's what I would do too. Try to get paid, try to win games, throw to score, run to win is the old football adage. And they put themselves in a lot of positions where they need to score because they're not playing with the lead. So yeah, I think Geno has autonomy. Matter of fact, I know he does. And there's instances here and there where he changes plays and adjusts stuff. But I mean, he's not the OC. Ultimately, the responsibility, if you want to run the ball, give Geno a run call, he'll do it. It really is that simple. And they just have an OC who's just not doing it.
Mm. What's going on with Riq?
Yeah, I think I don't know what happened while he got benched in the Vikings game for that first series, because I asked Mike Macdonald because I wanted him to clarify. He said after the game against the Packers, or excuse me, he said after the game that it was like a team rule thing. And I was like, oh, that's weird, because I wasn't in there when he said it. So then I asked him later in the week, I said, did you bench him for something that happened during the week going into the Vikings game? And he said, yes. So it wasn't just that he played bad against the Packers. And I made sure to ask that because, to be frank, that would have just been stupid. There are plenty of guys on the team that have had worse individual performances than Riq had against the Packers. Did he have a bad game? Yes. Has everyone on his line played that bad before? Absolutely. He can tell you each game that a guy on his line has played as bad or worse than Riq did against the Packers. He's had safeties play that bad. He's had linebackers play that bad, so he's had his quarterback play that bad, although I know you can't bench him in that way. But that's why I just thought that was dumb. So I bring that up to say Mike then said Riq just blew off a rule or something like that during the week. I don't know if it was cumulative. I don't know if he just told someone to F off. I don't know if he was playing video games instead of at a meeting. I don't know. It could be 10 million things. Mike won't tell us. But I will say this. To Riq's credit, whatever was wrong during the week and whatever was wrong in the Packers game, he bounced back and he was one of their best corners.
Yeah, he played well.
One of their best defenders. Yeah, he played great against the Vikings. Gave up just 2 catches for like 16 yards based on what I saw when I watched the film. And so that's really the kind of the Riq conundrum that they're probably having. Speaking of guys they had to have a conversation about because Riq's extension eligible in the offseason is when Riq is tuned in, when he's just locked in, focused, every play, every snap. Boy, he is really. It's hard to catch a ball on him. As the Vikings just saw it. The largest pass they caught on him was he busted a coverage in like cover 2. That was it. And Julian screamed at him. He didn't bust any more coverages the rest of the game. Like when he is in, he's good. But the fact that you have to wonder whether he's going to be in is probably where Mike Macdonald and John Schneider start saying, all right, we can't extend him, or we got to maybe draft a corner. We got to do this. We got to do that. Because I don't think because he had issues like that as a rookie and a sophomore too. But now I think once you're in year 3 and you're having like focus issues, that's where teams start looking to replace you, or very least not paying you. Because I think that's just what it is, not a skill thing. He didn't forget how to cover. Cover's great. Honestly, Puck, benching him might have been the difference in the game. Because they put Trey Brown in there. He blows the coverage on 4th down in the opening drive. They go score. Give up a touchdown to Justin Jefferson and you're offsides. They lost by 3. So I thought that was a weird move by Mike Macdonald, but I understand it. The last thing you want to ever worry about is whether one of your guys is going to be focused. Yeah, it's like literally the last thing.
Yeah. What was more weird though is that in the situation we have Trey Brown late in that first half. I think it was the first half, right? Matched up against Justin Jefferson 1-on-1.
Yeah, with no help. No safety help.
I still don't get that one. I'm still trying to, several days afterwards, trying to figure out what the point of that one was.
Yeah, I in real time, I text our guy Chris Kidd. I said, because I think Trey can cover. I think he's fine, but he also hasn't played in like a month. So I text Chris. I said, so let me get this straight. Mike Macdonald doesn't think that Trey Brown is better than Josh Jobe, but he thinks he's good enough to just be one-on-one with Justin Jefferson with no help. Like that's where the logic breaks down. Like yes, you do have to trust your guys, but it's also okay. You don't even think he's good enough to be your second corner, but you want him on one of the best guys in the league with no help in the red zone. Come on, Mike, make that. I don't care if you're putting Riq in punishment. Help your team win. Yeah, and he didn't right there. I thought that just put Trey in a bad spot. Like obviously Trey needs to do his job, but I think he put Trey hadn't played in like a month, man. Just came in cold against the best receiver in the league, 1-on-1, go make it happen. That's just not good coaching to me. It's the opposite of putting your guys in position to succeed.
Hey, simplest thing for Seahawks fans. I mean, literally, Seattle has to win out. The Cardinals have to beat the Rams. The Rams win Saturday, it's over.
It's not over. So if the Seahawks win and the Rams win, all right, let me see how fast I can do this.
Sure.
The Seahawks win and the Rams win. The Rams, to clinch the division this week, need 4 wins from other teams that they have already beaten. So I think they need wins from the Vikings, the Niners. I think the Commanders win would help them. I don't think the Rams beat the Commanders, but playing the Falcons, who the Seahawks have already beaten. So if they get the magic number is 4. I tweeted the scenarios that the league sent out this week. So the magic number is 4. They get 4 of those. It could be on Monday night again if the Niners win. That could be one of them. If they get those 4, then the Seahawks are out. So it's going to be a very stressful weekend for the Seahawks. You need to win tonight, and then you got to hope that this bad Cardinals team upsets the Rams. And then if they don't, you need all kinds of help from like the Broncos. Some other bad teams. Miami. It sucks. This is what they get though. This is what the Seahawks get. It's your scoreboard watching now, because when the scoreboard was in your control, you dropped your last 2 games at home.
Yeah, yeah, you have it. They clinch if they win and Seattle loses, or they win and then they clinch the strength of victory tiebreaker. So they clinch the strength of victory over Seattle 3 or more wins from the following team: Minnesota, Buffalo, San Francisco, Washington, Cincinnati, Cleveland. At least that's what the league sent out.
Yeah, so you got to get to four out of those.
Yeah.
I think 6 teams that is. So I mean, it's the Seahawks are looking at a nice little 6 or 7 leg parlay they need to hit. Pretty much put that in gamblers' terms.
Yeah, and those things usually come through, Mike. Hey, last thing for you, since you're in Chicago, Pete Carroll, head coach Bears. The report, of course, the last few days that he's interested in the Bears job. He wants to get back into coaching. I think he's made that clear. Would that be a good move by Chicago to hire Pete Carroll?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think Pete forgot how to coach. I mean, look at the product now. They got rid of Pete, he's oldest coach. They hired the youngest coach. The product looks the same. They fixed the defense, but the offense, special teams is worse, and they're right back here on track to go 9-8. The more things change, the more they stay the same. But also, I don't get caught up personally in Pete's age, because I feel like we meaning the league and whatever, they fire coaches so fast anyway. You hire a coach that's 37. If he stinks, he's gone before his 40th birthday anyway. And if he's great, chances are he's great because you won before his 40th birthday. Like, if the Seahawks are going to have success with Mike Macdonald, who I believe is 37, by the time he's 40, they will have made a conference title game. If not, he'll probably be gone, I would guess, unless he just keeps winning the division and getting bounced in the wild card or something. So I'm okay with it. I think Pete's a really good coach still. I think you hear a lot of these younger coaches spouting just different versions of his philosophy, be physical at the line of scrimmage, like some of this 12-as-1 stuff, a style that no one wants to play. Like, there are versions of this that just are just always compete remixes, the team is one of Mike's, mantras. Well, that just sounds like protect the team, which was rule number 1, for Pete. And that's just not Mike Macdonald. It's a lot of his young coaches, Dave Canales as well. Even hear some of the stuff Mike McDaniel talks about, or even D'Amico Ryan's. Like, these young coaches they're talking about the same stuff, because there's only so many ways to win football games consistently. When you have to play outside and in cold weather cities in December and January, you're going to need to be physical. You're going to need to run the rock, and you need to play good defense. Pete's not an idiot, and he's going to have, if he were to get hired there, I don't know if they would. I think he would do a great job, and Caleb Williams would be great. Their defense already has the pieces. I think that he would still have to fix that O-line, but Pete's worked with that before. So, yeah, I think it would be a great move by Chicago. I don't know if they'll do it, but I would.
There he is, Michael-Shawn Dugar, the Dugar Report, The Athletic. Follow him on social media at Mike Dugar, co-host Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast. Check that out wherever you find your podcasts, YouTube and any podcast platform. And, of course, read all of his work there up at The Athletic. All right, have a fun time tonight there in Chicago. Safe travels home. Post a Merry Christmas to you. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. All of it, Mike. Keep grinding away, and we'll talk to you next week.
Happy holidays. Holiday Bowl. Go Cougs.
Go Cougs. You suit up. When you're done covering the game, fly to San Diego and suit up. You probably have some eligibility.
I got some. I got a couple plays in cover 4 on me. That's about it, though. Don't ask me to play man. I don't got the hips for that.
They got like 55 players available to them. Check out this show, the full show up on YouTube. When you're there, please subscribe, like there, leave a comment. Also, and check it out on Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. And, of course, always up at pucksports.com. Big thanks again to Michael-Shawn Dugar, The Athletic. Again, as we mentioned on Thursdays, we catch up with Mike early in the morning. He's getting ready for Bears and Seahawks coming up later tonight. And we'll see. That last thought there on Pete Carroll and the Chicago Bears. It'll be interesting, in our chat that we're having, that you can always participate in the chat, by the way. YouTube, Twitter, both platforms, all the chats and all the questions come in here. Would Pete Carroll be a good fit for Caleb Williams, a young quarterback in the Bears? A guy that, do they want an offensive-minded coach there to pair with Caleb Williams? I don't think the age should be a factor for Pete Carroll. The guy's won a championship. The guy knows how to coach. The Bears could do a lot worse than hiring Pete Carroll. And the Bears are right. I mean, people are right. You got to get that hire right. If you don't get it right, then you lose out on a number 1 pick. You never fully, truly developed Caleb Williams. But for Pete, would the offensive coordinator hire have to be right for him? Well, of course. I mean, he can't he himself can't screw that up. You know, the connection to USC and all that, although they never cross paths, they still have that USC connection together. I, for one, would love to see Pete Carroll back in the National Football League. I would love to see him. All right, big thanks to Michael-Shawn Dugar, again from The Athletic. Go subscribe to the podcast page, YouTube. Those episodes up on YouTube, and, of course, the podcast page, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts, and, of course, always up at pucksports.com. One thing we're doing this week, we're just posting the shows as one. Just the entire show up on YouTube, the entire podcast just as one, time stamping it for you to know when the guests are on, but we're just trying it out this week. Complaints, comments, send them my way, puck at pucksports.com. Also, you can send me some feedback there on X at pucksports. We're just trying it out, see if we'll continue to do it. Some do like everything separated, and some don't. Some just like the live or just the one show posted as one on YouTube, and then all the podcast platforms. And then, of course, I'll do what we haven't done in the past is time stamping all of it, but we'll time stamp it so you know when, so you can fast forward whether you like to watch it or listen to it to those certain shows and those certain guests. Also, as we mentioned before, you can go to pucksports.com, see all of our content up there, but also the Pucks Posse community membership. You can sign up there also on the live stream or the stream. You can see the QR code that will take you there to the Patreon site for Puck Sports. I encourage everyone to sign up, become a member. VIP content. You get added bonus content along with the daily content we do every single day. And when you become a Pucks Posse member, with addition to getting the VIP content, you also, of course, just support this new venture, Puck Sports. So we do appreciate everyone that has signed up, and looking forward to 2025 and bigger and better things happening there in the new year. And we're just a few months away from our 1-year anniversary here of pucksports.com, which is truly amazing. All right, before we go, Hey What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle, your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when those damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. We detailed this a little bit earlier. Fantastic reporting by John Canzano up at johncanzano.com, talking about the dysfunctional relationship between outgoing WSU President Kirk Schulz, the Board of Regents, and Jake Dickert. It details a frosty relationship between Dickert and Kirk Schulz, a confusing relationship between Kirk Schulz and the Board of Regents. I think some of us have been under the impression we've painted the picture of the Board of Regents of not being pro-sports or sport-friendly. Certainly not detailed in that story by John Canzano, again up on johncanzano.com, that in fact the Board of Regents did approve $2 million and then up to $4 million directed to the football program at a time when Jake Dickert and his staff sorely needed the money to hopefully retain assistant coaches. But Kirk Schulz apparently just sat on all the money, and didn't tell his athletic director, Anne McCoy, of the money, that, hey, you've got $2 million and actually $4 million to spend to retain your staff if you'd like to. And for whatever reason, and we do not know because Kirk Schulz has been silent, he withheld that information from his athletic director. And she found out about it, that she had a surplus of money that is now available to her after the fact, after Jake Dickert had agreed to become the new coach at Wake Forest. Now, had she learned of that money before? Does Jake Dickert remain at Washington State? Do some of the assistants remain? I don't know about Ben Arbuckle or two of the running backs coach. I don't know. Maybe they end up going and leaving elsewhere. You can't directly have those funds going towards John Mateer, not yet. But why? That's the biggest question I think that has yet to be answered from Kirk Schulz. And I know John's reached out to them. Greg Woods of the Spokesman Review has reached out to them. Coug Fan has reached out to them to try to get a comment from Kirk Schulz. Why did you withhold that information to your athletic director that you were directed? He was directed, according to John Canzano, directed to spend $2 to $4 million to the football program, and he elected not to do it. He elected to wait, and after Jake Dickert had taken the Wake Forest job, to then reveal that he had that money. That's odd, and it's erratic behavior. It's uncalled for behavior. It's not presidential behavior. And then also, as he detailed in the story to John, that Kirk Schulz initially had to be forced by the Board of Regents to seek a lawsuit against the 10 departing schools. He had to be talked into it. It's a guy that his conference was crumbling around him. Remember, he was the charge of the Pac-12 Board of Directors. He sat on it. And then under his nose, these schools who he was supposed to have a relationship with, at that time it was Oregon and Washington kind of controlling everything. He didn't see it coming and finds out, the 10 minutes or 15 minutes before that meeting that they were out. So under his watch, he's seen the conference fall apart. And then it fell apart, he didn't want to do anything to try and save his school. And no one can figure out why, other than he's departing in the summer and he wants his legacy reputation to be that he did more for academics than he did athletics. There was a person even quoted in John's story that worked on the Board of Regents. I think it was Enrique Cerna, who's on the Board of Regents, said, football is, and I'm paraphrasing, but football is the window into your school. You invest in the football program. When your football program is good, every school can point to this. It makes your school more attractive, whether people like it or not, it does. And enrollment increases. Under the Michael Leach era, they've got the stats, they've provided it. Enrollment jumped up, in part because of the success of the football program. So if all of that is true, and I have got no reason to doubt that what was written in that article is not true and not 100% accurate, in which it even details where Schulz and Dickert had a very contentious meeting after he was told after 8 games they were 7-1, hey, you're going to have to take another pay cut again. You're going to go from 4.9 now to 3.5, which even the year before that was at 5.8, I believe. So he's almost a $2 million pay cut for his assistant coaches. He brought in his assistant coaches, his personnel, and said, when you take this money away, you're taking money away from them. This is who it affects. He had them all in that meeting when he brought in Kirk Schulz. And there was a direct quote from Dickert that John got from inside there. He said, quote, hey, these are the people's lives you're going to impact by taking away that money, going from 4.9 down to 3.5 million. Schulz apparently in that meeting, according to multiple sources, said, quote, I don't mind being the president known for right-sizing the football program. This was a guy that we were led to believe was pro-football, pro-athletics. That does not paint him as pro-football and pro-athletics. And it paints Kirk Schulz as a negligent president right now. And he should be removed immediately from president of that school and should not be allowed to have any decisions to make about that football program moving forward. To hide something from your athletic director for 6 weeks, that is fireable. That should be fireable, especially when you were directed by the Board of Regents to the athletic department that you have this money and he just sat on it. Why? And Kirk Schulz has got a lot of answers. He's got to answer a lot of questions of why he sat on that information for as long as it. And the longer he keeps silent, it's not going to go away. That story is not going to go away at all. If he's down there for the Holiday Bowl and those reporters are down there, they circle him. He needs to answer a lot of questions, because the longer he goes silent, the longer the guilty fingers are pointed towards Kirk Schulz. All right, that is Hey, What the Puck? Brought to you by Restoration One in North Seattle. Your restoration company lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when damages affect your residential or commercial property. Full show, the Daily Puck Drop, will be up on YouTube later. When you're there, please like and subscribe to the channel. I should say, not chantel. I don't know what a channel is, but I know what a channel is. Let's push over 4,000. We're just under 100 away from 4,000 subscribers there. Let's push those numbers up. Also, check it out if you want to listen to it on the your preferred podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, wherever you like. I get the question all the time. It does not matter where you listen or watch. It all goes to the same spot. And, of course, we have all the shows and our guests all up at pucksports.com. When you're there at pucksports.com or on that QR code, if you click on that, take a picture of that, sign up to be a Pucks Posse member. Again, all VIP content. You get everything we do daily, every extra content we do, and most importantly, you're just supporting the continuation of Puck Sports. So I encourage you to sign up to be a Pucks Posse member. New VIP content is coming out soon. Dynamic Duos interview series is coming out as well. I had a long conversation with O'Day football coach Monty Kohler that's going to come out very, very soon. I don't want to miss it. Sign up and get all of the content that we do up at Puck Sports, the free and exclusive content for our VIP members. And again, just $5 a month. That's all it costs. If you have any issues with that, problems this time of year, just whatever, send me an email. We'll work something out, puck@pucksports.com. All right, that's it for a Thursday show. We'll be back tomorrow, Friday's show. Jim Moore will be back. We'll talk to our handicapper, Troy Wins, the games that are coming up, the bowl games and the NFL games. We'll spend a few minutes with Lofa Tatupa. It'll be kind of a post-game show with Lofa tomorrow because of Thursday Night Football. And then, of course, we end every Friday with Chris Egan of King 5. I guarantee he's got a story about something that happened at Christmas. So we'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you for all those who checked in the day after Christmas. Appreciate it. Love all of you. Thank you for supporting this. Hopefully you are entertained every single day that we do this. We appreciate it, or I appreciate it, I should say. All right, we'll talk to you tomorrow. As always, we promise to be better.
No shoes, no ties.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rob you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!